Hello guys, welcome to my very first YouTube sit down and chat. I really just wanted to make this video to introduce myself to you guys so you could get to know me a little bit better, understand where I've come from in business, what my story is, what my journey has been, and just dive a little bit deeper into my history so you know who I am and what I'm all about. I want to take you guys back to the very start of my career. I was in high school and I just really didn't want to be in school anymore. I didn't like going to school. I felt like I was wasting my time and I just wanted to get out and make money. I honestly feel like I was born an entrepreneur from an early age. I really just wanted to get out there and utilize my skill set in a way that was going to actually make me money. So I asked my parents if I could drop out of school and they said, that's okay. As long as you do some kind of course, you've got to enroll yourself in something. You can't just not be working and not be going to school. So I actually ended up falling into makeup. It wasn't even my plan to do makeup, but it's just kind of what happened. So I started doing makeup. I did a 6-month diploma. I learned all about how to do special effects makeup. So like blood and bullet holes and scars and all that kind of cool stuff. I had dreams of maybe working on movie sets or something like that. So I started doing makeup. And then once I was finished, I started my own makeup business. All the while I was still working as well. I had a job at McDonald's, which I absolutely loved. That was definitely one of the first places that I worked, which taught me all about systems and structure and how to operate a business properly using systems. So it was a great experience for me. So while I was working there, I was also doing makeup as well. And I just found that even though I was starting to get some bookings, I was still pretty young at that age. I was only about 16 and I wasn't quite mature enough to have my own complete full business. So I ended up getting a job in a hair salon. And this is where my journey with hair kind of started. They wanted to employ me as an apprentice, but also as a makeup artist / receptionist and kind of just be an all-rounder for the salon. So I started learning how to do hair. That was one of my first jobs that I had. And I was doing a mixture of different things. And that was where my love for hair truly started to grow. I then ended up moving to a different salon and I ended up working with someone that is still someone I'm friends with today, who showed me all about hair extensions. She introduced me to the world of hair extensions. It was such a crazy concept to me. I mean, this was almost 20 years ago now. And she introduced the concept to me and I was absolutely hooked. She did them in my hair and everywhere I would go, I would get compliments on my hair and how long and thick it was. So I just knew there was something here that I had to explore a little bit further. I ended up going back into makeup. I got a job working at a makeup store in the center. And again, having all these people asking me about my hair extensions. So I decided to start pursuing hair extensions as a career. So I looked into different options. I found a course that I could do in person down in Melbourne, which I went and did. And the course itself was okay. It definitely gave me the foundation of what I needed. But as I would come to find out, there was so much more I could expand upon and so many different techniques. And I was really only just scratching the surface when it came to hair extensions. So I'd done my training and I started up a little salon from home. So I converted my spare bedroom into a little mini salon and I started doing makeup there. I was doing spray tans. I was doing hair extensions. I was doing like a mixture of different things. And that was really the beginning of Hair Candy. So this was back in 2007 and this is how it all began. At the time when I started doing hair extensions, there really wasn't anywhere else doing them. It was such a new and upcoming thing. And I had learned a little bit of a different technique, which was using weft hair extensions, which I still use to this day, using microbeads and weft hair extensions. And this was a really new and up and coming technique that nobody was doing yet. So I really felt like something that helped at the start of my business was just being the first person to jump on a trend, jump on something that was going to become really big. And it was just the right place, the right time. And I remember this day where I sat down and had coffee with my mom and I explained everything to her. I explained my business plan and I said to her, I really think this could work. Like this is such a cool concept, being able to add hair to your hair and like give people the kind of hair they actually want to have in seconds. Like nobody's doing this. I feel like there is a window of opportunity for me here. And she was like, let's just go for it. So she helped me write out how much I was going to charge. We looked at different ways we could market the business. My mum was such a big supporter to me during this time and my dad as well. They both really supported me and encouraged me to give it a go and start my own business. And my parents had actually previously started their own business maybe 5 or 6 years before I started mine. So they were kind of in that early phase of starting a business. They were learning a lot of things that they were sharing with me as well. And that was really helpful to get my business going. Just having someone to talk to about it, having that knowledge of someone that was ahead of me who was doing the things that I wanted to do. So I started building my clientele. And back in the day too, there was no social media. There was no Facebook, none of that. I think Facebook started to come around early on in the business, but it was definitely not used for business back then. It was used for personal things, conversations, things like that. It wasn't like a place that you would go to look for business. So I would put ads in the local newspaper. I would do leaflet drops around my neighborhood. I would ask people for referrals and things like that. I did basically everything I could that was going to get me business, but didn't cost a lot. That was something that was really important to me, was building my business, but not having to outlay a ton of money, because I didn't have it. I was only 20 at the time. So I definitely didn't have the money to be outlaying for expensive marketing, but it just worked. It absolutely worked. And again, like I said, it was because I was the right place, the right time. I was onto something new that people weren't doing yet. And that really served me so well. So one thing I can say is, if there is something that you truly believe is going to be the next big thing or the next best thing, and you think you have an opportunity to capitalize on that, I would say go for it. Because if your gut is telling you that this is going to be something good, you just never know. It could be the next big thing. And if you wait and you miss out, you could possibly regret it later. So I'm definitely a testament to being in the right place at the right time and just having that idea and absolutely running with it. So after that, I continued to build my business from home. I had a job in makeup, which was amazing because I was seeing so many customers every day and they would always be commenting on my hair. So I would just give them my business cards. See, we didn't even have Instagram back then. So I just gave them business cards the old fashioned way. And I'd be like, hey, I have a home salon, or I can travel to your house and do your hair. That was how I built my business in the beginning. It was so simple and so organic. It was just a word of mouth. It was just because I had a job that wasn't conflicting with hair extensions, and I was able to build my business and my clientele that way. And the business really started to take off. Once one person started, they would tell their friends, and then more and more people started coming to me. And it was just such a cool experience to watch my business just take off in such an organic way. I then actually decided to move. This was in Canberra where I lived. I moved to Queensland, which was about probably a 15, 16-hour drive away from where I was previously. And so I had to start my business completely from scratch. Now, one thing I did do to kind of mitigate that was I would fly back to Canberra every month, and I'd spend a week there doing all my clients. I'd cram them in and try to get them all done. And then I'd come back to Queensland. So I kind of kept my business going while I was living in Queensland, traveling back and forth just to continue my business. But I did have to start from scratch. And that was definitely challenging because I didn't know as many people, but I just did the same thing that worked the first time. I got a job in makeup in a shopping center, and I would meet people that way, and then I would direct them to my business. I was a bartender for a little while. I would do extra odd jobs as well, just to keep me going while my business was building. And then I eventually ended up moving into a townhouse, and I converted my whole garage into a salon. So I put vinyl flooring down. I made it look like a little mini salon. And I also did a lot of mobile hair extensions back then too. So I would travel to people's houses. And it's funny because I was thinking back the other day, and I was actually able to make really good money just traveling to people's houses, because it was a bit of a luxury service. Nobody was doing it. And I'd charge each client a travel fee depending on how far they lived, but I would book the client. So I'd go to like the furthest one first and then work my way back. And so sometimes I'd end up making $400 or $500 a day in travel fees alone when I'm driving around, even though I had lined all my clients up on top of the money I was making doing hair extensions. So that was a cool little extra thing that I had to bring in income, to offer that extra luxury service, to really get my name out there and to become well known in the hair extensions industry. So after my business had been building for a while, I had started to do really well. I had started to make a decent amount of profit. I decided that I wanted to open a salon. So this was my first foray into opening a salon. I just thought it would be nice to have a place to do my clients from, to not have to travel around to their houses so much. So I opened my very first salon, which was in Surfers Paradise. And it was definitely a little bit of a rude awakening for me. I was so used to having freedom and flexibility over my time, and I'd be traveling here, there, and everywhere and going to my clients' houses. And then all of a sudden I had to to be in the one place every day, and I had to be open certain set hours. And I just really struggled with that. As much as I loved having a physical location and not working from home, I found it really hard to be there every day and to just have that pressure on me. If I wanted to go on holidays, I'd have to find someone to cover for me. And I just didn't enjoy the experience. Plus, I was really young. I think I was only 21 at the time. So it felt like a lot of responsibility for someone so young, and I just wasn't enjoying it. So I decided to close that salon down, which was a big nerve-wracking thing for me because I'd spent a lot on the fit out and I'd invested so much into building this business, and I was worried that people wouldn't want to come to me anymore. I was worried I'd lose clients, all of that, because closing down a salon, it was just scary. But it ended up being the best thing that I ever did, because at a young age, I gained back a lot of my freedom. I went back to what I was doing before, which was working from home, traveling to clients. And at that point in time, I actually ended up making the most amount of money. I remember I was making about $3,000 a week, and I was beyond excited. That was so much money for me, and hair extensions were way cheaper back then. So a lot of that was profit that I got to keep in my own pocket. And I remember thinking, I'm just killing it with this business. This is amazing. And I was in such a good place. I absolutely loved that. And I did that for many years. I just worked from home. I kept it really simple. I had a really good clientele. And I decided actually to start getting my own range of hair extensions because I couldn't find a good hair supplier. I looked high and low, and just back then there were not good quality hair suppliers in Australia. So I just decided to get my own supplier direct from China. I actually went over to China to meet the suppliers, to see what it was about, to learn about how the hair extensions were colored and how they were imported and all the different things that they do to produce the products. And I really learned the industry inside and out. And that was how I was able to start building my hair extensions brand. So initially, I just wanted to have hair extensions to use on my clients to, one, save money, and to two, provide my clients with a more premium product. And it worked tremendously. I think I was previously paying maybe $200 per packet. And then because I was able to get my own, I was only paying about $50 per packet. So it was a huge reduction in cost for me. And the quality of the product was 10 times better. The hair lasted longer. The clients commented on how much better the quality was. And it was just overall a really great move for me. So because that quality was so good and because people were commenting on it, I started getting hairdressers reaching out to me and saying, hey, can I buy this product from you? These are the best hair extensions I've ever seen and felt and used. And I buy this product from you. So I was like, okay, sure. Like, you can buy the product, you can start, buying my hair extensions. And that's how my online e-commerce store was really born, from a demand from people wanting to purchase my hair extensions. So I set up a Shopify store and I started selling the hair extensions online. And again, it was really just word of mouth. With my online e-commerce store, we were building to up to about $10,000 a month in organic sales before we ever started advertising or using any kind of paid ads or paid media or anything like that. So we made it to 10,000 a month before we even needed to really take it to that next level. So that was really one way that I piggybacked my in-person service-based business onto an e-commerce store as a way of expanding my business. And honestly, it was one of the best moves that I ever made, because my e-commerce store now does over $200,000 a month in sales at the moment, and it is growing incredibly fast. It's probably going to be doing double that by next year. And it's all because I took that chance and I decided to just give it a go and see if I could potentially introduce e-commerce products into my service-based business. And it worked so well because I already had a clientele, I already had a brand. So I just introduced another part of that brand into my brand. And this is something I specialize in doing now with my clients. I specialize in helping them create an e-commerce product or create a different branch, a way of, producing more income in their business without having to completely change their business model. So that is one of my specialties that I do with my coaching clients. If you are interested in doing that, I'd love to chat with you about how we can incorporate an e-commerce brand into your service-based business, because honestly, it could become the next biggest thing in your business and you don't even know it yet. So once I had my e-commerce business, again, I kind of ran into that same feeling that I was having of not having freedom, because I was trading my time for money, doing my clients. I had my e-commerce, it was slowly building, but it wasn't enough to fully support me yet. And again, I was in this place where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted freedom. I wanted to make more money, but I also felt like I was being really tied to my business. One thing about me is I love to travel. I always have, I always will. And so I'd take these really long trips that were like 2 or 3 months. And then of course my clients didn't like that. They didn't want to go without having their hair done for that long, and they'd maybe go somewhere else, or they'd just be frustrated. So I got to a point where I really had to decide what I wanted to do. And for me, that was bringing someone else into the business. I knew I needed someone else that could step in and take my place when I wanted to travel and do these long, elaborate holidays that I like to do. So that was where I decided to just really revamp my business and try going down the path of having a salon again. But I did it differently the second time around. I wasn't going to make the same mistake. I was not going to have a business that tied me there every day. That was one non-negotiable for me, is that I don't want a business that is locking me into being there every day. It's not my vibe. It's not what I want to do. I want freedom. I want to build a freedom-based business. And I knew that, and I just made it so clear to everyone that I worked with, everyone that came on board. This is what I want. This is what I'm working towards. Don't expect me to be here every day. I want to have flexibility. This is just what I want for the business. And I was very clear on that the second time around. So I opened up another salon again. I gave it a go, but this time I made sure I got somewhere that was really affordable. So I had really cheap rent. It was really low overheads. I didn't spend a lot on the fit out. I was like, let me just get into somewhere, see if this is going to work, and then I can expand later. And that worked really, really well. The rent was so cheap. I think it was like $200 a week. It was very affordable for me, and it was very low risk. So I brought on another girl who was a hairdresser to work with me. She did all the cuts and colors and things, and I just did the hair extensions. And then I trained her to do hair extensions so that when I went away, she could take care of all the clients. And then as the business started to grow, I needed another person. And this is where I was at a real crossroads, because I could have gone with another hairdresser, which would have meant we could have made more money and expanded a little bit more. But one thing I really did not like doing was the admin side of things. I didn't like having to call clients and have long conversations and consult them over the phone and then chase clients for missed payments and all these different things that I had to do in the admin side of the business. I really didn't enjoy doing that. So I made the decision, instead of hiring a third person to directly bring in more income, that I was going to hire someone who could do the admin side of things. That, yes, that would be a wage expense, but that would mean I could do more clients and I could do more of what I actually enjoyed doing, which was servicing my clients and doing hair, not being on the phone and texting people and getting back to people and all those kinds of things. Plus, I'd already started the e-commerce at that point. So we were shipping out hair daily, and I just wanted someone that could pack the hair and could take it to the post office and do all of that while I was doing my clients. So that was a really important decision that I made. And I know that that decision served me really well, because I was happy in what I was doing and everything was taken care of. If I wanted to go away, I had someone to pack orders. There was someone always answering the phone. It was just a really good system, and it worked really, really well. So from there, I just continued building my team. So as the business would grow, I would hire more people, and the team just kept growing and growing. I ended up moving to a different location, which was bigger, and I really went all out in the fit out. I made it so beautiful, and I absolutely loved that salon. It felt like a huge accomplishment to me. And then I really just continued to grow the business. And then I opened a second location and then a third location. And we also now have a warehouse for the e-commerce. I have a team of 3 on my e-commerce business. They run the warehouse. They pick and pack orders from there. They help customers. We do training. We do online training. And then I also have my salons. I have 3 salons, and we have a team of about 20 girls working in the salons. So the business has come such a long way, and there are so many pivotal moments that I've had along the way. One of those moments that really sticks out to me was back in 2015. I actually had my business then for about 8 or 9 years. And I was definitely at a point where I had paid a lot of attention to my marketing, to my skill set, to my team, but I really had not paid a lot of attention to the finances part of my business. And I'm sure if you're a business owner listening, you can relate. It is one of those things where you just kind of want to bury your head in the sand, especially when the numbers aren't good, or you know that you owe more than what you're making, or you're spending more than what you're making, and it's just not a good feeling. It's not like the most exciting thing to look into. And I had really got myself into a bad position. I wound up $200,000 in debt, and it wasn't even a good kind of debt. It was tax debt and credit card debt. And it was just an absolute awful mess, total mistake on my behalf. And it was very stressful. So I didn't know how I was going to get out of that situation. When I found out that figure of how much I owed, my stomach just sunk. I felt sick. I felt like this is it. My business is over. My career is over. 8-9 years I've put into this brand and this business, and this amount is huge. I just thought $200,000 is so much money. Like, I was only making maybe $60,000, $70,000 a year at that point, because interestingly, when I was working from home, I obviously got to keep all the money I was making. And then as soon as I moved into a salon and started employing a team, I had a lot more expenses. I had a lot more overheads, and I couldn't keep all of the profit for myself. I obviously had to pay for all my expenses. So even though I was making really good money, I was making the same amount of sales as I was previously. The profit just was not there. And so that was a big lesson for me. I did not pay attention to my numbers. I got $200,000 in debt, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to declare bankruptcy. I'm just going to throw this all out the window, declare bankruptcy. That would be easier than actually working through this problem that I'm having. But I didn't do that. What I actually did was I hired a coach. I hired a business coach who was also really good with finances. And they said to me, don't worry, this happens all the time. This is completely normal. This is something that we see so many business owners get themselves into, and we are going to help you get out of this, and we're going to do it fast. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that there's a way out of this, and that this person that's coaching me thinks it's so easy and so doable. It just expanded my mind. I felt like light bulbs went off. I was like, oh my goodness, this is how people run businesses. This is not a big deal. This is totally normal, and there's a way to fix it, and we're going to get out of it. And I'm really proud to say that I actually completely cleared that debt within 2 years, because as soon as I started working with that coach, my business absolutely skyrocketed. The trajectory of my business has been absolutely incredible since then. And we're now doing $5 million a year in sales, which is amazing. We started at that point, I was doing maybe 300,000 a year in sales. So to go from there to where I am now, it has been a huge jump. And it's all because I started working with a coach. I actually decided to take my business seriously. I stopped treating it like a hobby and treating it like just a way for me to get by and make enough money to support myself, and treating it like an actual business, and using actual strategies and working with professionals who could help me take it to the next level. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So it's been such a transformation in myself, in my mindset. I'm not afraid of money anymore. I feel very abundant when it comes to money. And I know that my business sometimes has seasons. We've had a season recently where it's been a little bit quieter than it has before, but I don't let it stress me out to the point where I think about bankruptcy or they think about anything crazy like that. I know that I've been through ups and downs before, and I know that I can get through it again. And it doesn't concern me. It doesn't grip me with fear the same way that it used to back then. So I have learned so much through this whole experience. And that is also why I'm so passionate about coaching women in business now, because I truly want to help them, and I want to be your best friend in business. I want to be that person that you can turn to and say, hey, I'm going through this, or I'm going through that. What do you think I should do? And I can give you my expert advice, because I have been there. I have done that. I've had an e-commerce. Well, I have an e-commerce store. I have salons. I have an online course. I have so many different branches of my business, so many revenue and income streams. I know how to manufacture products. I know how to deal with suppliers. I know how to manage a team. I know how to be a really good leader. There's so many facets of my business that I have grown in and truly matured in as a business owner. And now I get to share that with others. And I absolutely love it. It truly lights my soul on fire. And if you know me in real life, you know that I love business. It's my favorite thing to talk about. It really excites me. And I could talk about it all day. I could talk about it underwater. It's just, honestly, it's my favorite thing. So I'm so privileged that I get to be doing what I'm doing, that I get to coach people. And I also have a podcast, The Success Club, which comes out weekly. And I share a lot of tips and tricks and things over there. So if you want a little bit more of me and you want to get to know me a little bit better, head over to my podcast. Just type in The Success Club wherever you get your podcast, and we can get to know each other a little bit better. And you can also check me out on Instagram @_Shakira Jade. I would love to connect with you if you are watching this video. And that is my story. So thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it has been informative and inspirational. And just know that wherever you're at right now in business, whatever you're going through right now, everything is figure outable. I got that saying from Marie Forleo. She says everything is figure outable, and it's so true. Any challenge you come across, anything that comes your way, any amount of debt that you might be in, any problem that might be standing in your way, you can figure it out. You just have to figure out what is the best way to get through this? What is the best course of action? Do I need support with this? Can I do it on my own? Just figure it out. Everything is figure outable. Nothing is impossible. So I will leave you with that. Have a great day, and don't forget to like and subscribe this video.